So, I stopped judo. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Kenji Martial Arts. Now, you had that right earlier. I had stopped training judo. Yeah, the art that I had spent a good amount of time cross-training in. Unfortunately, I've had to stop it, or rather, I chose to stop it. So, yeah, that part of my judo journey has come to an end. Now, so today I thought I'd spend a little bit of time just talking about my journey through judo, what I really liked about it, what I didn't like about it, and yeah, just some additional thoughts and things. So to start with, I started training judo just at the end of 2019. I was pushed to do it by my instructor. Well, I say pushed, he recommended it and I went and I absolutely loved it. It was a great art, really good club that I trained with, and I really enjoyed it. And then a certain pandemic happened and well, I was left at home doing solo drills with the Uchikomi band for a long time. Do not want to go back to those days. Anyway, so clubs reopened back again, got back to it, had a great time, really got into it. To be fair, I ended up training in it for, overall, I want to say I've been training in it for just give or take 2 years, but obviously time on and off here and there. You know, great art, really good, very attentive instructors, really emphasizing on little details, which is not my strong suit. I am not one for details, but that's why I needed it. It was great. Now, the people that I trained with, honestly, a lot of the demographic seemed to be either people who were started judo when they were younger and then continued until they were older, or people who had already cross-trained. It was very rare I actually found someone who had just come in without any kind of martial experience straight into judo. So yeah, I trained in it for a good amount of time. I started training at another club as well, about half an hour from home. It was really good, really great people there as well. Something that I noticed throughout is a big philosophy about, I guess you could say, about being at peace, if that makes sense. Everyone was promoting like, okay, we train, but we're calm and we're really friendly to each other because, well, we're learning how to hurt each other. We're learning how to hit each other with planet Earth. So be nice about it. And honestly, I really like that culture. It was fantastic. I went through my grades. I did a couple of tournaments along the way. I won gold in one. I got a bronze in another. Yeah, I eventually got myself up to green belt, which was I guess you could say that it's like an intermediate type of grade, or I suppose like low intermediate grade. It's what was like referred to as like the last club grade. The next grade would have been blue belts. So to get to blue belt, you had to go to a regional area grading. Now that was those are like every so often, and you'd be in front of a panel of lots of different people, different instructors, maybe some that you've never even heard of. That would have been quite daunting, but it was at that point I decided I had sort of had enough of judo, or maybe judo had enough of me. I mean, I can't speak for it. It was at that point I sort of realised, okay, the next stage in judo would mean really, how to put it, wiring myself to be a full-on judoka. Now, don't get me wrong, there are people that can do different arts together very well and proceed very well in both of them, but that's not really how I'm wired myself. Like, for me to progress to the next rank and the next few ranks would mean a lot more dedication into judo and so much time spent rewiring my skills. Now remember, I'm a karateka, I'm a striker, or at least I think I'm a striker. It felt like it would have been too much of a commitment away from what I already knew, so that my striking skills had already started to diminish a little bit while I was training judo, because I was spending so much time, you know, throwing and grappling. Then I would actually be striking, which is my main skill. So I sort of decided, you know, whilst I really like the grappling and the different things we learnt from judo, I kind of felt like it was time to call quits. Now, I'm sure some people are probably thinking, oh, you could have persevered or you could have just trained regularly, but truth is, I just kind of lost interest. I mean, that's not a bad thing. I've said before on this channel many times, like, there's nothing better than like going to class and like enjoying yourself so much, and when you finish, you're smiling, you're happy, you've had a great time. I mean, I was in a positive environment, don't get me wrong, really, really good environment, but I just didn't feel that same level of happiness from it. Now, that's just me. That's just me. You know, I'm what I say is not meant to be any kind of standard. It's just my own opinion. That's it. So yeah, that's my end of judo. So I just want to talk a little bit about the training. So a majority of what judo is meant to be is a lot of stand up, grip fighting with gis and takedowns and throws to the ground. So you can either score points by landing people directly onto their back or onto on the side of their back, and you'll get points and half points for that. You could either end the match, or if you end up going into a half point, you will then have to continue the fight on the ground, in which case you either go for a pin or you go for a strangle or elbow lock. So that is also where like if you are heavier, then it helps so much. Now, I wouldn't really call myself heavy. In all honesty, I've never actually been able to secure that many pins because, well, quite frankly, I'm just too nimble, I like to think. So yeah, now it's weird that judo is meant to be give or take 70% stand up and 30% on the ground. But in all honesty, my own experience, we actually spent a lot of classes. We would train uchikomi, so we'd repeat and drill throws again and again and again. But then for the sparring session, we would almost always do groundwork, do newaza randori, ground fighting. So that felt a little contradictory, but apparently, and this is just my own observation, it seems that a majority of people get injured quite a lot from stand-up fighting, the stand-up randori where you go for the takedowns. Now, I never really had too much trouble with that, but it did seem to be something of an injury causer for a lot of people. So yeah, it makes sense. If you're going to go for a bit more of a harder session, fight on the ground. With the lack of submissions, it's kind of harder to get an injury. Now, I want to talk about things that I do like. Now, a lot of judoka, they had started judo when they were young, which means that they have wired themselves quite well, their body and their brain, to be good judoka. And great judoka, to be fair. I remember I was training with some people who were teenagers, probably not much older than 16, 17 in some cases, and they were so fluid and so smooth. Very, very well done to them. But the thing is, that means that they are good and great, to be fair, for judo. And they are able to work within that system, and judo is a very effective system. The issue is when you're coming at it later in life, like when I did. I say later in life, I'm only 26. When I'm already wired for other styles of fighting, it is a lot more difficult. But when you are like born and bred in that system, it does wonders. Another thing that I really like about judo is the fact that you are training to slam someone into the ground. Now, no matter how you look at it, you cannot punch someone as hard as you can let gravity and yourself slam them into the ground. Throws are hard, very hard, which is why it's always good to practice good break falls and just don't break anything when you fall. Another thing that I do like about judo is how much it emphasizes good kazushi. Now, kazushi is the breaking of the balance, it's the pulling of the gi, it's the putting someone in an awkward position where you're much more likely to throw them. And that is drilled so much because the kazushi is almost up to the point of when you pull someone, you want them way off balance. That way, when you step in for a throw, all you need is just a little movement and then boom, they're gone. So it's always about emphasizing that level of efficiency in your movements. Okay, no energy is wasted. you're not overexerting yourself unnecessarily. You're using the movement, and next thing you know, they're on the ground. Now, I do want to talk about a few things which I don't like about judo. Please don't come at me with pitchforks. So one thing that I wasn't too keen on was the sheer number of injuries people get. Now, something that I learnt as time went on was that people who are older, when I say older, I mean like in their 20s and 30s and 40s and whatever, tend to get injured very easily. Now, injuries can come from your knees, from the fact that you're always going in, turning in for a throw. Although, to be fair, I don't know anyone over 40 who doesn't complain about their knees. And other common injuries are shoulders. So if you're taking someone up for a morote sianagi, it's a movement where you end up with your arm under their armpits, and you're pulling them over you, which can put too much pressure on that joint and things like that. So, and another one is all the finger injuries people get because of all the gi grips. You end up getting your fingers twisted in someone else's gi, and that hurts. Oh, that really hurts. Also, sometimes I just end up stubbing my fingers against someone's knee, and that hurts. So yeah, people get injured very quickly. I think I was actually reading when I was starting out in judo, like, these are the common injuries, this is what causes them, and this is what causes people to drop out. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't really get any major injuries from judo, but I got a few ouchies, if that counts. Another thing that I wasn't too keen on in judo was the fact that groundwork was very limited. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was focused, but it was very limited on terms of things like submissions or ways to fight. So for example, if you're going for something like a rear naked choke, you can't put the palm of your hand onto the back of someone's head. You have to go back of the hand onto their head as you choke them, and that is just really awkward. I can't say how many times I end up clicking my wrist trying to get the right angle, because otherwise you just slip off. So it does end up being very awkward. I remember when I was really just starting out, I was going for like a shoulder locks, and then eventually I was like told, oh, you're not allowed to do that. I'm like, I'm not? And they're like, yeah, you're not allowed to do that. Too much risk of injury to the shoulder. I'm like, okay, but isn't that kind of the point of a submission? Just saying. But yeah, no, it was kind of not great that it wasn't explained immediately that, oh, okay, only these submissions are allowed. But yeah, no, it did feel kind of annoying that, yeah, you couldn't only attack the, I say attack, you can only submit from the from an armbar or from a choke. So that was kind of annoying, but just something that you had to put up with. Also, another thing on groundwork is, like I said earlier, I was absolutely terrible at trying to get hold down. So I was good on the ground and wasn't good on the ground at the exact same time. It's a paradox. Will somebody help me? And something else that I didn't like about judo too much, to be fair, this was before my time, but the fact that leg grabs weren't allowed when I was training. Like, I think at some point they were sort of banned from like international competition. That sort of reverberated around the judo world. Okay, no more leg grabs, no takedowns like that. So I was kind of annoyed at that, because like it felt like I was restricted from doing a certain set of throws which would still be very effective. I remember at one point during randori, it was I just had no chance. Then eventually, I don't know how, I think they were trying to go for a sumigaeshi, or was it a or something like that. They basically had their leg up on me. I sort of just grabbed it out of instinct, and well, I was like, oh, okay, hang on, stop, my fault. Can't do this. Sorry, can we just reset? Because I had grabbed their leg. So that wasn't great, because it felt like a part of the art was restricted. And it's not like it's not an unsafe part. I mean, people do that all the time in other combat sports. So kind of irritated about that, but you know, shit happens. Another thing that I found weird about judo, and this isn't a criticism, This is like you could just call it from like an abstract point of view. So, like I said before, I'm used to striking people. So I can't tell you how many times, like if I was on the ground or about to throw someone, I thought, if I could punch this person or kick them, I could confuse the hell out of them and they wouldn't know what to do. So it just feels like in kata as well, there are strikes. I say strikes, it's like traditional karate 3-step sparring where everything is very overly exaggerated and not really real. So, but in actuality, in terms of like randori, no striking is allowed. I mean, that's illegal. So it always came up to a thought in my head, just thought, yeah, I've got this person to scarf hold, they're slipping out. If I punch them, they won't be able to get back up. Or they'll be incredibly confused. Maybe I have a problem. So yeah, like I was saying earlier, the next stage for me to improve in judo would be to become incredibly soft. I mean, not to say I was always hard and rigid, but it was also about, okay, to fight well in this art, I needed to change more or less everything about the way I fought. Because in karate, in the tournaments I've done before, you have to be very aggressive, you have to be very fast and explosive with strikes. With judo, you have to be fast and aggressive with explosive takedowns and throws, and then be very stable when you are on the ground. That is just not really the way I fight, at least not right now, so it just felt like this was completely against how I was fighting, so it felt like it was a contradiction. And like I said earlier, my striking skills were going down a bit, so I thought, okay, there are other things that I want to do. I've spent a good couple of years in judo, so would it be really such a bad thing if I just moved on? I mean, like I've said before, I'm not really training for belts. I mean, belts are just a recognition of your rank within a certain system. I was training for the skills. And now that I left judo, what on earth am I going to do with all these skills, all this pizzazz that I learned, all these different techniques? I mean, who knows what I'm going to do with them? In fact, I do know what I'm going to do with them, but I'm not telling. At the same time, I still can include a lot of what I learned into my karate training as well. So it's not like my judo skills are going to diminish. They're just going to be streamlined for what I want them to be for. I mean, that is the whole point of cross training anyway. You go to an art, you learn, and then when you're ready, you bring it to what you know already. And in my case, that's karate. Now, what have I got in terms of future plans? Well, I know what's going to be happening. I'm not going to be telling just yet. I want to keep you guys hanging just a little bit longer, but you guys should find out soon. Some very, very, very exciting future plans for myself and my training and moving forwards. And I'm looking forward to it. I am looking forward to every single thing. And who knows, maybe when I'm older, I might go back to judo, might keep training in it. I have no idea. But for the time being, I need to get my bloody cardio up. I have been lacking like crazy recently. Unfortunately, sweets have been at a discount price recently, so I've been a little bit distracted. But hey, well, that's all from me for today. So thank you for watching this video. Please check out my other videos, click the subscribe button. And of course, as always, I wish you all the best with your training. Take care.